a message, phone call, or a search on our website. Our CSP provides prompt and efficient solutions to your problems. We pride ourselves on treating our clients responsibly and ensuring your information is kept safe. Log on to www.skndb.net and send us a ticket or email us at customersupport@skndb.com. You may also call us directly at 869-465-2288, extension 1322 or 954-353-1003.
If you have a dream, what are you waiting for? The development
So they can
But
be a part of the
how would
industrial
you
process.
calculate compensation?
Well, just like how you charge them, you give them back what they had lost, because remember, some of that initiative where you charge could have been all like, I talked recently to some people, as right now I sitting here, I was just recently in Nevis, and when I look at some of the moments, I had some discussion with people who are goers of the hub, and the elders been talking about, and one of the elders emphasized him went to prison, not get in jail, but went to police station prison for a roach and was charged 1,100.
So you're hoping that the records would reflect those who would have been punished
Yes.
from a financial perspective, and those persons must be given back their monies.
Willingly.
Now, what about those who spend time in prison? How much per day? How much per year? How much per week? What sort of figure would you put on that? Would that be open to negotiation? Would somebody be willing to negotiate on their behalf?
Yes, must have negotiation, because if you're telling me that those who, as I tell you, those who suffer those who get charged by price rate, those who in imprisonment, and those who was brutalized for the use of the ganja. So we are talking from even the early 70s, where in the time when the federal boat and the maple used to come here, and where the herb trade started in the moments of St. Kitts and Nevis.
But somebody might argue and say, well, the herbs or the ganja was illegal back then. So changing the law cannot be applied retroactively. The law is supposed to be progressive, and you move on with the law. You pass a law today. You pass a law today. You cannot bring into being things from the past unless you'll be going backwards.
No, you won't be bringing into being of going backward. You're bringing into being the hurt that you face during the time. Because hear me now, who and where were the confirmation of this law coming to farm, and how?
Parliament.
Parliament
is the law. Parliament of the country.
But
the Parliament is the
but
biggest lawmaking body
in the
our
same
federation.
indication of them passing law. They were still using method and ways off of the same hub. So what kind of standard were they setting?
Let me ask you a question. Let us suppose they pass a law now, and say persons must not get children. It is against the law to get children outside of marriage. You pass it now. Do you go and round up the persons who would have had children outside of marriage and punish them?
No, you have to have dialogue and discussion properly within the format.
But that done gone.
Well done,
and that's the same thing I'm saying. Yeah, the persons who have already gotten children outside of marriage, you can't go now and punish them because, pass a law and say you must not get children outside of marriage. So likewise, if you're saying that the weed is now freed up to a certain extent, and those who got punished for getting involved in using it, how could you go retroactively and compensate them for whatever? I see you can do something going forward. You can give them priority.
It ain't about money alone. So don't think that when we say give them back compensation, there's other ways that we mean. So in the aspect of compensation can be by land distribution too, as a part of
So do you give them free land, or they have to buy the land?
Well, the land might not just be free, but at least
Could
you give them a percentage
discounted.
in creating that economical status.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that if you were to get a piece of land designated for your ownership, but you had to pay $50,000 for it, do you think you could approach Development Bank, National Bank, or any other bank and say, look, I'm here for a loan for the purpose of which is to buy $50,000 worth of land, piece of land, to cultivate marijuana? Do you think that the banks would give you loans to do such a thing?
It should be there in that spectrum of the bank giving a surety, but that's why it's one of the things we have to be cautious in how we move into loans in this bank. Because look at it now, the bank itself is very skeptic when it comes to this industry still. So on a farmer approach, we will have to say we have to have a good tone of how these banks will be instituted in creating a good ground level for this industry in supportive to people who want get active to it.
But the banks are private companies.
I know
Maybe
that.
the closest to our heart might be National Bank, but you think that you would be able to go there and put forward a submission that you're trying to get a loan to buy a $50,000 piece of land to plant ganja or to get involved in the ganja trade, so to speak?
Some things might not go by so anyway we like to say, but I would like to say, put your money in the area that you see fitting for your own approach, because some of these banks ain't ready yet, and we can't wait on them. We have to do what we have to do. I tell other people like this: don't look at what the legislation have created, because it's a policy making, it's not a law. And you know that to bother Nital, the recent statement what was made last month in 2022 of this ending year from the previous administration just gone in, and we know certain things they still ain't really understand the context. So we are not going to have no dilly-dally. We're just saying time now to make sure we make people understand how to move, considering to be wise within studies, research, and document and data, because we can't play no fool in these movements. I see Jamaica has hurt their own people, and in the consultation what we have done as a part of the commission, we even invite one of the leading legislators who have approached within helping Jamaica frame up their approach in the industry, and he even say, when you look at it, the people as well disadvantaged with the aspect of the herb, and we as Rastafari and even the conscious loving people, because it's not just a Rastafari aspect alone, but Rastafari are the leader of using herb, and we would not fear to stand up for the cause of herb when it comes to our people, not just for Rasta but our people, and we mean it by that standard.
Many businesses, even insurance companies, when you go there to insure a vehicle, maybe that costs $150,000, $200,000. They try to find out where you got the money from to get that vehicle. And if it cannot be shown how the monies were had, then they could deny you the opportunity to insure your vehicle. Now, if the banks themselves are not accepting money, or they pretend not to be accepting money that was generated via the ganja trade, so to speak, let us put it wrong.
Yeah.
So where would you put the monies that you're able to generate? Would policies change? Because you cannot influence a bank to accept money that is coming from a trade that they're not in favor of. In the United States, there are various states who might have legalized marijuana, but then the federal government did not legalize marijuana, so the federal government still accepted as being illegal. So how would you would you keep it in your shoes?
No, remember we got young people coming up, and in the aspect, there is the minds of the young ones, them who are going to be the one to be the creativity behind this industry. And when we say the creativity behind it, I would like to specify that economics is not something that is a hard thing to go by, but we have to study it wisely too, because they have the ups and you have the downs, and you have to know how to mobilize yourself when you have the ups, and you have to know how to mobilize yourself when you have it down. Now, this banking structure where you just employ on, we can do the same thing, if we're willing to emphasize our social safety net. Marcus Garvey tell us, create our own affairs in how we see we as a people supposed to move to safeguard our grounds. And if we don't want to reach that, that means we're going to continue being the ones who being left out of these moments of economical standard.
But think it is not an island on
By
its
itself. We know
own. We have acceded and ratified to certain international conventions. And if we want to play it that way and lose favor with those persons who oversee those conventions, it can spell international disaster for us.
Yeah, basically.
So what do we do?
No, you see, that's where we always clamp down to his own demise because we make ourselves look like we're small and we have no voice. This is something that we have to turn into a positive turn now. The small island them need to stop play this flavoring and start we into a global community, and we have regulation and convention. Well, yes, all these regulation and convention ain't imply for just we alone. What about those who doing it the same thing what they're trying to deny us of doing? Are we serious only about telling the statement that we're trying to follow something that is not real? We have to be considerate and take things in a notion and say, what, if you're trying to push something on us and you are doing the same fault of these things that you're putting, it makes no sense to make no statement behind nothing and talk about convention because you're breaking the whole code. The whole code is break down. So they are not for them to know to stand within not going to make no statement about no convention. We have to be, that's why I'd say it's time now we start doing better agitation and just talking for we say now we can get this year go because it's a major industry. It's not a major, it done been here a long time. It's just that we just playing the catch up phase. It's been a long time around. It ain't just now how I've been in a crafting movement of making things doing for safeguarding people. How in the early 17th centuries when these gangsters of the Americas who went in and take over the people them land of the original people, we used to do enough farming. And we talk about black people, we talk about Indian. We are now call African people now Indian. It's black people up there. When they come in and take over the lands of our ancestors in them time, you know, the hemp was done planting in America a long time. You think them weapons for them ship there where they used to go and battle war with is hemp up them come off the production of hemp. So we are just behind the market now because we're trying to see we could get in there. We should have done it a long time.
Yeah, we keep talking about the market, but it is not all economics.
Not all the time.
How do we convince the general public, the majority of the general public, that ganja is something that can be safely consumed or utilized in our society? How can you're an advocate, what would you say to people who have the doubts about the safety of using the ganja? What can you say to them to convince them?
The herb is not nothing of no danger as they consume in the labor context. We must be frank. If it was a danger, it would not be here for us as a youth. So I'm not trying to convince nobody. All I'm telling us, let us do our due diligent research. There's a lot of things that the herb have done over the permanence of the centuries to help stable countries, not by economic. We're talking about house safety net, soil revolution that can create betterment for the soil to go within the food production. So we must be able to have these things here created in the mindset of our people, not looking at, they was wanting to smoke. I love to smoke ganja, but I have different ways. I use ganja too. I drink it as a tea. I use it as, even I eat the seed there because the seed having nutrition for my body. I don't need flesh. I have to eat things that have maintained from natural stage of my body build up. Because we start all up in the program, chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is a thing that means within the development of our alkaline structure. That's why we say only the herb and other basic tenets of herbs that are aligned with the chlorophyll and the alkaline development, we need to utilize those things because we can stand in that aspect as a spiritual people far than how we are seeing ourselves right now.
Yeah, but the chlorophyll is something that belongs to plants.
And alone.
Right, it belongs to plants. And that is why plants are producers. Plant is responsible for producing food. Mankind is seen as consumers because they're not capable of producing their own food. The chlorophyll is with the plant category because it helps in making the food You understand?
Nutritious.
Right. It helps in making the food. But it's not just the chlorophyll alone. There's something within the chlorophyll that is responsible for keeping that compound together. There's something called manganese. Manganese is essential cation of chlorophyll. So you can actually take supplemental manganese capsules. I take manganese capsules, not on a daily basis, but maybe every other day.
Truly.
And manganese is very important to the human
Body.
development. Now, I am doing some research. I didn't really want to bring in this aspect of it. And we looking forward to Canada for some guidance. Some of our people were sent out to Canada to learn how to cultivate the marijuana in a very proficient way. So we're looking towards Canada. And right now there's a debate amongst physicians in Canada that some of them just not in favor of even prescribing medicinal cannabis to the patient because they are uncertain about the dangers of utilizing marijuana. A matter of fact, I spent the last 2 hours prior to coming here, looking at research in that area. And the Canadian physicians are saying they're not absolutely certain of the safety of prescribing marijuana as a medicinal option for the patients. What do you say about that?
First thing I would like to ask, with the medicinal herb are they using, it open up or is it in a greenhouse? That's my question to it. 'Cause you know when you're in a greenhouse, you know you have a lot of different things that are created to keep that herb in the way that they need it to be.
Under control, yes.
So they got to be specific in how they label in the statement. And you just outlined all up in the program that I have to break it down and bring into context. So they didn't bring it into context. So I will only say, once they bring it into context, I will bring this here to say, I know that those herbs in the greenhouse, the troubling herb, a lot of people that have it on here. They call all kind of name love, all kind of kush, all kind of thing, but it's all kind of way that they are not basically the genesis of that. Because those are cross breeding herb, what we call clone. When you clone something, you can't have natural in that. And that's serious. You're a scientist, but profession. So if I'm wrong, give this the earwave and let them know that that's I is wrong in what he just stated.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm telling you, physicians, researchers are saying that they're not certain as to the effect marijuana would have on their patients, so they do not prescribe it at all. They're staying far away from that. And we are looking towards places like Canada
for assistance
for
in that
examples.
As examples, that's why I say
and we say we're behind in the market.
Yeah, but
and we're sending people Canada to learn to grow it.
It's a shame to see that we are sending. When I hear the indication, I got Virgin out there right now. He'll be on a program every Tuesday with Let's Talk Agriculture in Nevis, and he have some good idea in how he premises his framework in the growing of the herb, but ain't everyone on that. But he does do it from outside. And I never see him penetrate it in the, as they call it, the greenhouse. Them. So I don't know if he have others beyond that. But from what I see him doing is from a different framework of the opening and letting the herb be within the sunlight. Now, the physician them have put that into phase in the Canada aspect. But what we would like to ask to that question, what you feel. I see that some of these physicians are paid as by the lobbyists, by people who work in the pharmaceutical industry to make sure that these movements of the herb don't reach the permanent of this xenos. And we really watch that is a tick attack right now. That's why we got to be cautious in how we're going within this industry, even though we say we are far away. And so that I mean that we don't know how to approach things. It's just that we have to be mystical in how we're moving with these things here. I would never applaud any administration to be sending our brothers or sisters to Canada to go and indicate of that, but that is something that they see in the making for what they might have, because government have other initiative than what we other people have behind you.
You have something you call, you have technology, modern biotechnology, where you can go in the supermarket, pick up your seedless grapes. I don't know where grapes could come from other than by seeds. You got your seedless, a lot of seedless stuff. And that was because of biologically modified organisms, whether plants or whatever. And we seem to be relishing that. And the same way, they might be using modern biotechnology to bring about diversity to the marijuana plant. Are you aware that for the past 30 years, the potency, the THC, the potency of the cannabis has increased tremendously? Tremendously. Right? So the brand we have, and we call them, whether they're from the Blue Mountain in Jamaica, whatever you want to call them. And I don't believe, and I'm putting it to you, that many of us who are users of the cannabis, we are not coping with the increase in the potency too well.
You sure of that? Are you just
You
indicating?
defend that, I'm telling you.
I will tell
and
you.
I'm telling you simply because there's an increase of
That's
persons
going well.
who are suffering from marijuana-induced psychosis. So obviously,
What the data for that? What the data for that?
It's right out there. You only have to go and research.
Okay,
Even
so-
here in St. Kitts, we have an increase in marijuana use disorder, right? So obviously, we have not learned, or we are not adapted to cope with the increased potency of the marijuana. We want to pretend because we do not want to make it look bad, because some of us represent the face of marijuana.
No, that is not true.
But we are not coping with it so well.
Why is it that you make a statement like that when you
Why
know
so many
our
persons suffering
people-
from marijuana-induced psychosis?
Well, you tell me the data is there, you tell me go look, do the research. But I remember when we was on the commission,
Yes.
and when the CARICOM commission come here to do the assessment with the people they interviewed and had the dialogue with, I was a part of the ones them with the nurses and the doctors them who make the presentation to the CARICOM commission. And one of the members of the nursing fraternity outlined a data which was falsified, and when the right data pull up, it was a shame to see you put in something labeled towards the use of herb and the children them who, as they say, who come up into the hospital because they call, as they say, what they call them again? Edibles.
Yeah, edibles, yes.
Edibles. No, they say the edibles are a way of where a lot of young ones are using. And sometimes you find that the young ones them end up caught themselves in a overheated body clammy sweat, as they call it, clammy sweat.
And pass out.
And then some of them might not be that strong to pursue that clammy sweat. And the way they forward is that they, as you just outlined, they pass out. The hope don't drive too for them to have that psychosis of the mindset be active like that. Is about seeing how they use themselves in other things besides of the herb. So the herb is a general thing that can react to something that you're not supposed to be intaking in that body.
I could agree with
and
you.
what I will say,
that.
in the edibles, I will say this year because it's time now we start doing our practical education. The edibles are mystical, but one thing for people who are using it, make sure you are using it with drinking water of room temperature, and don't go try to feel yourself to have it and be like you don't have no water, because the edibles can creep in. And when you creep in, you go into each of your pulse of your body organs, and then it start doing its work. It's good for when people who have cancer ailment, because that is what the work of the edibles them really supposed to align. Not no freaky thing, but some people taking it and being a freaky thing, and when they would like to say it's not. It's a healing process to develop ways and means of ache pain. And at time now we see that people start understanding what the use of these things that when it comes to the production of ganja.
I'm going to take you up on that explanation, because when you smoke weed, it goes to your brain much quicker. Do you agree?
Yes.
Right. And that is why most of you prefer to smoke it, because you don't want a high, so to speak, which I call a law. You don't want a good feeling, which I call a law, being delayed for too long. When you utilize the edibles, they go into your digestive system, and it will take a period of time there before they're actually metabolized. So you're not feeling the effects. So you eat one, you ain't feel the effect. You eat 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because the feeling is delayed considerably. And then all of a sudden, with a high concentration of ganja in the edibles, it would explode on the individual who consume it, because it was delayed. It's not like smoking, it goes straight to your brain in less than a few seconds.
I use the edibles to, what a Nital.
Yeah.
I experience the level of
right.
it.
So it goes into the digestive system. And because it is delayed, you wonder, well, if I eat this and may feel nothing yet, you eat about 10 more, 15 more. When that thing ready for you, because it would explode, create a kind of implosion, and something you can deal with it. You pass out and all the clammy sweat is the inability of the physiological being to deal with a high concentration of marijuana.
It can
potency.
It can work in certain studies. That's what we say. In the studies of our movements is about spirituality, and part of the spirituality is about breathing exercise. Our 4 holy masters them was people who studied breathing, and breathing is a part of things that can overcome these kind of troubles that we face. And if we don't see that real, look back in our anciency, because we're not disputing that things won't come on us and at a troubling time, but we must be able to know how to come back when it comes.
But sometimes it's beyond us. We are overwhelmed.
Okay. If you think like
we are made up differently.
Yeah, but it's about how we create ourselves in making sure that we have things on our body supplement be popped up. You make reference about the chlorophyll within the
magnesium inside of it, yes.
And within you is areas of other ways. I mean, you could break down in context of using it from different format of capsule or different way, but I won't use capsule in that. But you see it how you fit for your body and you build up. Other people can see it different from how you use it and use it in other ways. I mean, but what we're saying is that things now needed to be properly documented, and that's why we go back into research, because research is vital. The edibles and other things that is in crop with the herb can be studied wisely. And when we say study wisely, meaning that all hands on deck, because it's not just a Rastafari approach, and it's not just me and Nital and other people approach, it's a whole society approach, so we can able to hand a standard of our movements going to each one another, and not, even though you don't smoke it, you don't drink it, want to intake of it, but there's ways, it can support household development. Make sure that we can look at that as a part.
If you're baking cake or developing recipes to make food for persons to consume, you have certain quantities of various ingredients. How do you establish how much ganja you must put in edibles? How you know who you're going to sell it to? How you know about the physiological makeup, the metabolism? How do you decide how much marijuana to put inside edibles?
This is a thing, go back again. We have youths coming along. Let us start bringing our youth into this frame up of studies that when they go into the school and go out from the what they call it secondary level, going to tertiary level, let us start making their mind open and sharpen. So when they return, they have these answers to pursue greater demand. And we can give answers to it, but then it also we want to make it only the answers are not there. But we are saying it's time to influx the general public that they can have some understanding in how we can make things.
But it is unethical to carry out experiment or research on persons of a certain age. If you do not carry out the research, however, how would you know how it would impact that category of children?
I did my research recently. I was in the carnival setting. They say, no smoking on the street. I was once still smoking ganja on the street. I'm not afraid to say so. But we observed the moments of people who was in flocking using ganja. They had to go sideways. Because they're still using the quotation of what was said in the parliament. Now, the social media impact is what controlling our young youths. And I watching it carefully. Things the youths have seen, whether it's a man or woman, seeing on the impact of the social media, they are trying to fabricate it into the society that they are a part of. And so many things there in that social media is some dangerous contact to the minds of the youths there. And I realize enough of these things won't be studied furtherly because enough of our big people are part of the social media users too. So we don't want to really challenge social media. And even though when we do challenge it, we gotta be cautious how we state in certain things. But I would like to say some of the things that we see our youths are using on the context of the social media, they are implying it to the society. And it's time now we tell the youths them things are not real. Because the drinking and smoking in a pattern of what I see happening in the carnival is danger to my mind. It's danger to the youths' mind. It's just recently there was a health discussion with the superintendent was a part of that discussion, and he was gladly surprised to hear medical personnel telling him that alcohol can lead up to cancer.
Well, ganja too?
No, how can it lead up to cancer? Well, I would have done have cancer a long time. Because smoking ganja.
Of course.
No, you see.
You get cancer of the lungs.
No, you see. That's
if you
something.
get chemicals trapped within the alveoli of the lungs. You understand? We never know.
We never know, but we know how to deal with
ourselves. And what would work for you
might not work for someone else. But there is ways, the others can develop on their own approach because it's about development process. You're not here to know everything. One time you are learning in the time of phase.
Yeah, but I believe some of the adults who trading cannabis in whatever form, whether to smoke or to eat or to drink or to whatever, they are doing the youths them a disservice.
Well, you say that.
Their thing is to generate as much revenue as possible. And they couldn't care about the well-being of whoever the market or the clients are. Once I could get out $150 worth of edibles, $200 worth of weed, I ain't care who the person is. Sometimes you have a youngster who trying to do his best in school, but then due to some kind of weakness, some sort of looseness in him staying together, you all target those people.
When you use the word, you all.
Whoever's selling, they target these people to maintain the market, to generate as much revenue as possible. There's no empathy for the young ones. We believe in science. You talk about science here tonight, and science would have said to you that the brain under the age of 25, or now see Dr. Gupta saying under the age of 30, is underdeveloped.
That's a lie.
And we have... Okay, but
that's a lie.
But the same science, you want to be guided by the same science when it's convenient for you.
No, the factual of proof show that Dr. Gupta studies is not go into the depths of what nearly need to be said, because you're giving a study from a general broad base and not how you want to
Yeah,
approach
but
it.
you see,
You just tell me convenient and the convenient for there too.
people, you can't take people and put them in a lab, you know.
Oh, you
When
go
you're
back to the
doing
same
chemistry,
experiment
right?
again.
When you're doing chemistry, you could take your chemicals and your various solutes and solvents and run your experiment. You could run a titration, acid-based titration. But you cannot really take human beings and put them in a lab, because it's subjective and each one is made up differently. If I have 1 molar of sulfuric acid, don't care which part of the world I go, a 1 molar sulfuric acid is 1 molar. But if I take a human being, take your neighbor, put the 2 of you there, you're all totally different. And things would impact both of you differently. I'll have a question for you though. From the time you start using ganja, and you derive a certain amount of satisfaction, have you found yourself having to increase the quantity to get that same level of satisfaction?
Well, the type of herb I'm seeing on here, and not the herb we know when we are seeing sensimilla and kali herb, those are the 2 major herbs that I know that have been my meditation to what I am today. Now, we're seeing a lot of herb have been breed up faster than knowing that the comments of how herb used to be pursued when the planter man going and plant his herb, because he have much time to go and be around the herb. But now there's a lot of influx of different things have changed the society upward. So we see the herb is not in the essence. That's why you see they are now clone cross-pollinated herb coming in our shores on a rapid rate, and then you see the herb is selling like you're selling dime bag. I mean, you're selling crack. And when you look at these type of ways of the herb pursuing and those move, I don't really use those type of herb. I don't use them. I use the natural herb. Either we as the Nyabingi house plant or my virgins give a try. I don't go on and buy no herb from people who with these kind of sell implacable calling cushion love. I respect their sales because there are ways and means that they need to make some kind of income generally. But we must be able to understand how to pursue our ways of getting that natural
I understand
THC.
what you're saying, you know?
THC, because the THC of my herb I used to use ain't the type of herb I'm seeing. So I won't say the herbs that the remnants of that
My
meditation.
question was, Ras Aya, was and still is, 10 years ago.
The herb ain't the same, but in Nital, that's simple.
Wait, now you're not letting me ask the question. 10 years ago, when you burn a spliff and you get certain satisfaction from it, do you find yourself having to use more of that same weed? Okay, let me put it a little simpler. Do you find yourself having to use 2 of those same spliff from way back in order to get the satisfaction you got 10 years ago? Even 3 spliff in order to get the same satisfaction that you got?
I don't burn spliff no more. It's chalice or pipe we use.
Okay, let me use the word consume.
Yes. So we don't use spliff.
Do you find yourself consuming more ganja in order to get the same degree of satisfaction, the same good feeling then?
No.
You have to use more.
No, I don't see myself consuming more ganja to get the same feeling. Once I light up my pipe, that meditation is what I look for that why I smoke of that pipe. So when I don't light that pipe, I could relax my mind.
So you're using the same amount that you used 10 years ago?
A pipe and a spliff is different, so it can't be the same amount.
Yeah, but you could calculate the
it cannot be the same.
quantity. How much weed you put in the spliff? In the pipe?
No, in a pipe, there is different phase of how a pipe shape is. But in Nital, so you gotta look at a spliff is a wrapper. A pipe you have different shape. You have small size and you have different level of how they.
But you must put content in it.
Yeah, no, I mean for the content.
So you got empty pipe?
I pack my pipe.
Yeah, you pack your pipe.
So I tell you, in the format, a spliff to a pipe is not the same.
Yeah,
and he won't give you the same.
How long have you been using the pipe?
Over 2 years now.
Do you find yourself having to pack the pipe twice in order to get the same amount of satisfaction you got a year ago?
No, I find myself just when I cut up the order put in the herb, I don't measure how you're looking for. That's what I tell you. I can't give you a clarification saying what measurement of it. Pack in. You just put in and then it's on my herb. So it's not to say what you're looking for would give you an answer.
Right. I would yield on that.
Yeah, because basically my context is that I ain't looking to label my use of what I give.
I have a question that we'll move on.
Yes.
I have a question for you. When you finish light up your pipe and you ingest the content of the pipe in whatever change of phase you might have experienced, when you say you got a high or you got a good feeling, could you tell me what constitutes a good feeling? How do you explain a good feeling to me?
I ain't get high, and I want to stop that meditation flow when you all use the word high. You know what high mean? You're out of your mind. You're not capable of understanding who you are.
I understand, and
let me break it in the context.
I respectfully have it withdrawn. And my question to you:
meditation.
What satisfaction do you get
in a meditation
from the consumption of the ganja?
Satisfaction.
Break it down for me.
The satisfaction I say to my feeling when I use the herb and the conception of it, I am able to reflect on things that I'm able to see of our cultural aspects when it comes to African history. We're able to know what we have lost and things that we can dig in to culminate our way forward as a people. So these are the ways that when we say, that's how we say spirituality, because spirituality open up our thinking more and eliminate us to a greater heights. Heights, not high, heights. So we're able to reach that zenith of concentration.
It improve your
concentration
process.
Yes.
You're able to concentrate
more to the level.
Yeah, and I can recall when I did history, they had a church, a Coptic church in Jamaica, and they had quite a number of businesses. And it was said that they allowed the employees to smoke marijuana because the appliances and the parts that they were handling were rather delicate. And they needed people to be in full concentration in order not to break or do things contrary to how they ought to have done. So they permitted the people to use marijuana because it would have slowed them down and give them a chance to concentrate better and be more productive. In that environment, it is absolutely conducive. But what about when you have a sportsman who should be running 100 meters dash and smoke up his ganja and go on the 100 meters and start running in slow motion?
I wouldn't give him the advice to smoke it when he one. Smoke it and you don't know one.
You don't know one. So that is the same thing I'm saying. At times it could.
But I'll be frank on it.
Disadvantageous.
I could be frank on it. For an athlete, I used to play football, so I could talk from experience. From an athlete aspect, some people have the capability of in taking the herb and can do the aspect of what him or her do, and you have some who use it, they will do as a slow aspect. I mean that the contribution is not valid in the moments of them. Now, I remember when we were on the commission, I remember when we met the Judge Council, and one of the members of the Judge Council, I won't call on him because with respect to the person, and me and he get along good.
Well, I could tell you that I work with the Judge Council.
And
Kerry Mabaywan is my boss. She's the director for the National Judge Council.
And one of the members when we meet, and
I've been there since 2017.
In the commission, you know, and the one there.
Yes, I
was
there.
The one when
we went by the girls' school and we had certain discussions up there.
This one here was outlined that the person say they won't want to see people using ganja and coming on their work because there's a permitted person in the society. And I tell them, well, if the person smoke ganja and ain't smoke it on your work, but they come back on your work
with the remnants?
With the remnants of the scent. That meaning that they ain't come to do their work, what they're doing for you. So you shouldn't able to remove them from the work, because if they didn't come to your work, then you could have said they're not willing to work. But at least they come. They ain't come smoke.
I believe remember that discussion.
But
you have to understand where it's not everybody
can take the
could
scent.
entertain the scent.
As I always hear them say so. But may I say this here? When I look into all your scriptures, I so love.
Not all your we.
Not me, because I don't read Bible.
Don't read Bible?
But I respect the people them. Because I have brought up by Christian people my young age. My grandmother was a church lady. She makes sure I go to the church in my young age, and I have glad for her guidance, because she was able to be a part of my rock in my life bringing up, and I would never forget for her study that she always encouraged us to be, and the path of righteousness. We are not perfect, and we'll never be perfect. But one thing I always say, the things that we was reading when we were young coming up, they always give us scriptures to look into and passages of the scriptures, and then they ask us questions in the reading of those scriptures. What I said is to say, it's time now that a lot of things that we are seeing pursuing in use of the dedication of how they want ganja to be preside in their society. If the society ain't willing to accept the liberty and the standard of what the ganja can be to our society, we're going to always have a backlash.
But
and when we say, we're not imposing, we're talking gradually of the way of education, not trying to force nothing. So don't look like, as I was saying, the society accept, we say, let us come and have dialogue. Because if there is no formation of making sure we have public education, we are not going no further than how we are. But and make seriously that I see that happening all over.
Something that is subjective. You cannot measure it objectively. If Susan doesn't like the scent of marijuana, you can force her to accept the scent over a period of time. You say, well, you got to get accustomed to it.
Well, the problem
you have persons who are asthmatic.
Well, the problem is the scent or the smoke.
No. Well, the scent got to come from the smoke.
No, but some people they say the smoke is second-hand smoke is not good, and then no, it's a scent now. If you combine.
The only how you could sense something is via molecules going to your nostrils. So even if you smoke up the mountain and you come down by the sea, you will still have molecules on top of your clothing, right? And you might still have molecules within your respiratory tract that you exhale in. Maybe not to any significant concentration, but it's still a part of it. That is why people could smell and say you just done smoke. That scent is not always acceptable to people.
Yes.
You have persons who are asthmatic, and certain perfumes, scent of lotions, we trigger them off. They might be allergic to certain scent. So you can't tell them that, look, you're coming to work on a daily basis, you're working next to me, you're going to have to put up with that aroma that you're getting from my perfume. That would not be fair.
It's about balance, though. I see it as a balanced context.
Suppose as a chemist,
I can give one.
I allow you to smoke. I allow you to smoke. I don't like the rest of the ganja scent.
Yeah.
I allow you to smoke. And as a chemist, I have a way of producing hydrogen sulfide. And you here inhaling. I inhaling your ganja, you inhaling the hydrogen sulfide. I mean, come on, that would not be fair, because hydrogen sulfide is the scent you get when you're going down by Brimstone Hill and Sandy Point, like a rotten egg, and it could numb your senses. How would you like if we exchange that? You wouldn't want that.
I just smell it. I got to exchange it and now, because as I tell you, you see some of the things that we're going on here with, tick for tack, there's a lot of things we got to understand. The earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. The whole land there that dwell therein. Now, why is it that we want to bring all kind of elements to try to phase out one natural plant? To indicate it that if we use it from a raw stage of cutting it up, putting it in a paper or in a chalice or in what form it is, where you could consume by smoking it or vaporizing it, is it a situation that it can cause a problem to those who are asthmatic. I would like to know what can bring into that make the people reactive. I remember just now, like how you just stated that. I was in news, just as I tell you, and the function we went to was called for the closing of Kwanzaa, the last day of Kwanzaa, from the 26th to the 1st of January. Now, we were smoking ganja. Everyone was in the front line smoking it. He had a lady who was supposed to make a speech at that event. She come widely because she didn't get the official invitation, but out of respect, she still come. And when she come, the smoke get at her. So she end up was kind of chaffing for breathing. And I had to assist her. When I look at it, I could have refused, but I said no, because I know how some people will react to them kind of movement. But I could tell you, I'm a person always generally trying to create betterments for people, whether they like it or not. Now, she appreciate my help, because I even tell her, we'll lay you back outside and you'll get fresh air, so you can catch back your breathing pain. And I will bring a glass of water for you so you could drink it to create your pulse to open back up. You see? So these are things, again, your consultation tips there.
Yeah, but I could tell you no, because you asked a question. You asked a question as to what would induce an asthmatic reaction.
Yeah.
If, when you smoke, there are particles, they call them particulate, that would be a part of the smoke that you exhale. Even though you pull it in, you push it back out. And since I'm not a smoker, I'm not going to pull it in secondarily and push it out. I'll just pull it in and it's there to stay. And the particulates, some very fine particles, can get lodged in the alveoli of somebody's lungs. And usually persons with asthma, the alveoli tend to be far fewer in numbers. So that is why they have to be careful that they don't get clogged. Now, for some people, it would only take a short period of inhalation of particulate from smoke to clog that. And it would just trigger off, and people would have died from asthmatic attack. So therefore, we must be more sensitive. But if you know, for example, that you really want to use a marijuana, and it could be a nuisance to people, why not use the tea?
No, I just use
Same
it alone.
thing, right?
No, you see,
Why
that's
not
I tell
use
you.
the tea?
So you know you want to categorize me how to base my.
No, I'm just asking
But you
you.
say why? I said that's why I say when I started in the program, I said I use it from all farm. No, I could tell you here, I do use the ganja stick as my toothbrush. I don't use no toothpaste.
I would have seen that.
And
from
people
a lot
don't
of
know.
persons.
People want to know what kind of craziness is there, but it's serious. And I have proven factually that my teeth them is better result when I use the ganja stick. You see, because I know what this stick can do for me. I can't talk for other people. I'm only talking than the
Do you
experience.
smoke the stick?
Now we bite it up and eat it.
Right.
You see?
And you ain't push off
And
no
it give me good vibration
you
too, you
ain't
know.
block no smoke in nobody face, right?
Yeah, you know.
So if you know that the smoke would be a nuisance to others.
I know
and the
people
tea-
think that
yeah.
the smoke is a nuisance
But
to
I'm telling
others.
you why.
Go ahead. Though.
You can't blow your particulate them in your smoke and got me inhaling them, upsetting my respiratory tract.
Yeah.
You
All I
understand?
gotta do drink water and relax the brain,
No, it
man,
just
flop
cannot
the
happen
mind.
like that. Water
It
just
will.
cannot flush out. Let me explain something to you. If you clog up somebody's alveoli tract with particulate from your smoke, that's in your respiratory tract, you know? Drinking water going on your digestive system, which is different to your respiratory tract. So don't think you could clog up.
So the water ain't gonna circulate.
Don't think that you could.
The water
The water going to go in the digestive system.
But ain't gonna move to areas.
You gotta go in the digestive system to be absorbed and everything else and do whatever.
Okay then.
But water cannot immediately wash down your lungs. You understand? So we have to be a little more sensitive.
So what you're advocating is that the whole smoking in the public is not to be pursuing, or
you
you're
must
looking
be,
at it.
No, you
or
must be
consider it.
more sensitive and considerate.
And when you look at sensitive and consider, are we willing to give the people who use the herb as a smoking gesture to give them hub that we can make sure that these things are part of the safety net in the society, because if not, we are not ready to develop. And I'm serious about that. These are things that we have to be pursuing, and because you can't discount out something and then ain't have avenues to help stable that moment. So
but the funny thing about it, you have options.
The option of doing what?
Either eating it, drinking it.
Okay.
You understand? You have options. So why you choose the worst of all?
No, you can't be saying the worst of all, but
I'm talking about with respect to being a nuisance to
the society.
People in the society.
Being a nuisance, the society, the guys as a nuisance.
You know the laws and the book about nuisance?
I kind of think they got in the book I need to
if you're smoking at my neighbor and you're creating a problem for me, they have laws in the book. You smoke would have become a nuisance, and I could take action against you. You understand? I understand that you're saying get a hub where investors and other users and
other people smokers can be employed, and that can be an economical standard within the supportive aspect.
And maybe too, those who do not smoke but willing to tolerate it could go in that hub and socialize as well.
No, they can get teased, and so in the smoking pattern when we talk about hub. So I want the general public to understand clearly. We don't want to look at this here, we just want to advocate for smoking pattern. We are looking on this here as a way forward how we can create safety net for each and every one. Whether you smoke, whether you drink, or whether you don't smoke, everyone must have a greater element of respect for one another. And that's how we are asking to make sure we go in this format of respecting the people of how we're seeing the world is going forward.
So when you want to create this hub, where you going to create it on the sea?
No man, we got places we can create it. Watch out, this chip is an area you could create as a hub.
The what?
This chip got so an area you could create a hub over there.
So then you're gonna eliminate certain people.
No, you see you only hear one part, but you say so.
No, go ahead. It's for you to develop.
We got other parts in Bastia now. Look at the Bastia context now. Or people locally have to start engaging themselves if they're serious about seeing themselves in this industry, because hub is a part of an economical driving, and people who go behind in these hubs, they create a lot to help stable a lot of community in development.
Yes, smoke is not an object that you could put in a bag and bag it.
You see
the smoke. The smoke would diffuse. It would leave area of high concentration
and what
to go to area of low concentration.
And create
just like perfume. You use perfume in your bedroom, but somebody out in your kitchen could smell it because the molecules would have diffused. When you have a hub, how do you stop the smoke from reaching people who do not wish to be engaged?
You don't come in the hub if you're not a smoker.
You don't have to come.
If you're not a smoker, you ain't coming out.
How you ain't gonna come? You got smoke extractor?
Things gonna be. Things gonna be. You think in a hub, you gotta understand a hub.
You got smoke extractors?
Able to. You must got. You're developing a ventilator and move out the thing. You think you're gonna get
move it? No, absorb it so it doesn't go into the atmosphere.
And if you go in the atmosphere,
so why don't you use one? Why don't you have a customized smoke extractor? And when I smoke, I got it in front and it just... No, serious?
Customized, no. Everything can be created in different form, but in Nital.
I believe there's an opportunity now for some economics.
And the gongs. So.
Maybe you could have some wise person come up and create... The smoke going to your head, so that ain't interfering with your high or your good feeling. But at the same time, immediately you exhale it. There is an extractor to prevent it to going further than where the extractor
was. That ain't going to give us the natural form, man. You see, that ain't going to give us the natural form.
So blowing it out in people's face.
No, that's a television.
Is that you're saying, take that.
So
remember you used to lock us up for doing this? Take that in your tail.
You see the statement you just make? I remember when he was on the commission and we met the police them.
And you must be saying, take that.
Here's some of the police when they ask, what is our view? The question was asked, what is your view towards the ganja? So, yeah, the commissioner at the time was Yankwili, and yeah, the deputy commissioner, who is now the commissioner, and then you had the others high ranking them there. And one of them, of the high ranking, outlined to him saying that, I don't want no ganja legalized on the cup. When they legalize, they can come down and blow the smoke
in your face, right?
So when me hear me say, well, that's the first thing you come to your mind to speak on. You don't even say, well, one of the things I would like to say that if we do legalize, and if you know you don't like to legalize, look at something else that you can create. Because me had a talk after, and I tell him, you must let go your ego and look at common ground. Cause I know who he am. I don't know the training he get from the people them who he get them from are people who are fighters against herb, but they are still in the herb trade. Me I tell you this, you know. People who fight herbs are hard and put all kind of legislation against herb. Look at them in the background. They are the ones them who pushing the industry for them to create the economical power on us. We can't get captivated by this moment of time because it look like it's so sweet. We have to be wise, and I said it already, and I'm going to say it again. It's time now we start doing the proper way forward, public education, Nital. It's time now. If we don't go forward with the public education, it should have done when the commission had done, give the report, there was recommendation what the commission gave to the farm administration. Well, this time of this new administration, if there is no outline of the public education going properly, I'm ready to tell them that it's time now. You all are wasting the people them time. Let us put these things away and start doing our thing, just normal. Who want to sell ganja from the farmer, do it. Whoever you want to eat ganja from, do it, but do it in your studies of humbleness, not in a study that you're forcing something. Wise mind.
You don't believe it's child abuse when a ganja user indulge the child because of the perception of daddy and son
and daughter
indulge his son or the daughter in cannabis usage. You don't believe that's child abuse?
Not basic on how you intake it from your speaking with believing, because how could it be child abuse? One thing we must understand, Rastafari have ways, in greeting the youths to the use of herb. We can inform them with drinking the tea, give them ways, if you want to intake like it from a different format of as a vaporizer that can be used, but we don't intake them at an early stage. We let them gravitate for their own. Let them absorb.
But you're still smoking in the house.
Absorb, yeah, that's right. Because
and still inhaling the smoke.
Because you're not going out there to be not stylish. You're going out there to study what daddy and mommy are doing in here. You have to know where you're going out there to deal. Because you're going out there to say, Mr. Daddy and mommy, and we could go, no, daddy and mommy going to make sure they tell you, he or she, when you reach on the street, you don't follow what you see the street. Study what you have inside your home and do it in the comfort of how your home be. So we are making sure we pattern our youths them, because we can show you generally that's the youths of today are top graders of the academic honors, and two of their peers of the father and the mother have proof.
Yeah.
Look at Sankofa training, the studies up. Look
Yeah,
at Negus children, the studies go up.
But the same thing that people.
These are people who who families have intake hope right in front of the youth, and they have shown the youth how to gravitate the studies of.
I could tell you too that they got a lot of non-cannabis users who children excelling. So how do you compare the two of them?
No, just showing, because you're telling us that the guns of it of youth in the developing pattern of the brains is unstable, and I just show you outline to you.
Science said that the brain is underdeveloped
by 25 or 30.
You got to be over 25. So the brain still going through the transformation.
But you just said 30 when you said.
Yeah, I said I want up to 30. So let us say 25.
And I tell you that's a lie, because see the outline of the indication.
But how come you want to embrace science when it's convenient for you? You're telling me about chlorophyll and manganese. Chlorophyll
come from ancient development, you know.
That's science.
It's an ancient in the
The
context
study of plants, that's science.
in the ancient of studies of the herbs. 'Cause I wanted to break down that we just don't want to use that just ganja as a study in herb. There's ways and means. I'm a study of herbal use. I don't trust doctor medicines, but I respect the doctors them because that's the studies they went out and do in their academical honors. Now we come from within a level of nature, but we ain't saying we have all the curves of nature. We are studying nature still as we go. Because nature always evolves within the mystics of the mystic. And you can't say science again.
Dr. Whitaker has a book.
The herbs around us.
Right, and what they are good for. I have a copy of it.
I have a
and
copy
I
myself
study
too.
it.
I have a copy of myself
Right,
too.
but I'm saying that it is child abuse
In your opinion.
to have children subjected to the smoke of cannabis or marijuana.
What can it be labeled to be child abuse if when the child, he or her, if they do go out and create an avenue of anger, then can you...
They have to comply.
No, I ask you,
parents or whoever, they got to comply.
He was trying to outline, about Nital. You have some ways, of the influential aspect of how things fall within the young ones them. And I started out all of that is in society, the young ones are controlled by social media. But within the question you just detail on, it cannot be child abuse. And the reason why I say it won't be child abuse because both parents are making sure the child or the children be safety within how they confine themselves in the home. They're not using to abuse the child because the child smoke it. I tell you, if any of the child or the children them go from that format and go out and create ways and means that they develop on a stage that can create problems outside to their peers, then you can call that the victim of child abuse because of the, in fact, what you think of what come to the concept of the mind of the child.
You could be indoctrinating a child against
The
the
will.
child wishes.
The will.
But because you are the adult, the child would have to go along.
But
A 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, a teenager, if they do not carry out the wishes of the parents, what happens? They're on the road?
You're not forcing the child to do something, or guiding the child, but then the child. And
Maybe in a tacit way you're doing it because it's like, mommy wants me to do it, daddy wants me to do it, uncle wants me to do it, my uncle wants me, my auntie, and they just feel like they have to until. But the day would come when some of them would resist that trajectory and go otherwise because they could not do it before.
Who is, as they say, many are called, few are chosen. And only thing that we can say, sometimes some people's mind will change in a different way of how they see things approach to them, or how they are living into the things that they're seeing. Now, I could remember when I went to St. Lucia in 1999 for a mini Rastafari summit, and I was just 21 years old. Young man going out there for a conference. I know you be a part of it, but it's the aspect of seeing to get experience. And one of the things on the conference and the mini summit, I come across this Rasta who was from the eyes of St. Lucia, and he tell me he was born into Rastafari. So he, from his mother and his father connection that is in the line, he meet them that, and he live in that way. And from since that time till the time when we meet him, he say he been in Rastafari living. And I say this to say, the moment of time when I was with the Virgin, I see vibration where I say, well, this is a loneliness, something that I meet somebody who come from the tenant, even though I know he had some in St. Kitts already, but outside of St. Kitts now, who have able to live it and show why he live it and how he live it, and the way he have able to brace himself in coming from his parents' them guidance. So I'd say his guidance is not, and any parents who trying to force any youth in patronizing their style is not the way forward. I would say educate our youths, give them the way forward to guide them on the safer path, because the youths them are the future. It's not our stand to control them, but guide them, because the only way we can bring forward the better way of life is to put the youths them in the proper way forward of education. So Brother Nital is about guiding our youths, not forcing nothing. And I hope that you will have parents who trying to initiate force on the youths them guide them.
It might not appear
Guide
so
them.
to them, but
That's it, guide them.
psychologically they don't have any choice.
So his guidance.
But then stay out on the road, don't get anything to eat.
No man, don't look at that. Look at that there.
But
the parents is, as I tell you, you are here instabling and putting them on a good
parents
path.
are very paternalistic. They like to dictate what the children then would do.
Wow.
And any home where that is not happening is because you're having rebellion. The children then feel they're uncomfortable at home and they're going to find elsewhere to go. And we know that.
I don't guy that
You
general
pointed
term
out a
don't.
few. You pointed out a few situations like Sanko for children and other people.
Other people who have lived it.
That is a few. But I could tell you too, they have a good amount of people who involve in cannabis usage.
And it's
Drop out of school.
confined to the
Drop
use.
out of school.
And-
They lost interest in academics.
And are they, what
not
the position
saying that
to-
they're not bright people, but they drop out of school. They did not achieve much because the time when they're supposed to be in school, taking part in
And
the
the
impartation
in
of the
the
knowledge.
education.
There's some down the basketball court, down the park, and she's smoking cannabis. So they would have lost out on the
But then
absorption.
it make it lose the moments of studies furthermore, because you learning never stop, when you look at
life is
the
a
academic
long time.
part is a part of where the society wanted to approve with him. But there is more further than just the society approval in academic, because I'm academic studies. And I just yesterday I went into a meeting with the CEO of the National Bank, and the information I shared to the CEO, he was very applaud to see I bring that to his awareness, because knowing a lot of people in that studies, I just show you.
there's a difference between intelligence and acquisition of knowledge. Our society is this. You want to get a government job, you must have 4 O levels, including English and maths and whatever else. When society puts on that stipulation, could you apply for a job and get it without the prerequisite?
Not basically.
That doesn't say you're not an intelligent person.
Not basically.
But you have to present the
The paper-
certificates
the paper-
for that.
the paper of
right,
the
so if that
qualification.
is a societal practice and you do not fall in line, then you'll end up on the getting the bitter part of the stick. Man, you could develop a skill.
Marcus Garvey said one thing, and I tell some people the other than all. But Marcus Garvey said, if you can get work, make work. I one person in particular, I always see that these are the moments in my tenants when I watch at how Marcus Garvey create himself as a man forward in elevating his people and his peers. And a lot of people doubt of his vision that he has set out for African people in the West and even in Africa itself. And the things that we see are approaching us today, we are trying to look as prestige. I don't want to deal with the prestige, and I'll be frank about that, Brother Nital.
And that is good.
Prestige is a lot of things that have created a lot of ill will to our people. And it creates ill will because of the double standard we have around here. And it's time now that society needs to show it.
You have peer review. You have peer review research. Peer review meaning that you would have done a research and people of similar peer would have looked at it, replicated it, and said, okay, this is good to go. And it would have indicated that many persons who involve in substance usage, usually the job short.
Now, basic, sometimes them data that be facile to create.
If you take 500 people and you got 400 of them out of 500 who would prove what your hypothesis, what you're trying to prove, you can disregard
That's
that.
a census you're doing, or you're doing
research. You're
so
taking
you're
thousands.
So the people, you have people in the ground levels of these areas that can give a
You
confinement.
don't have to go and reinvent the wheel.
I'm just asking a question.
That's
That's
why I said peer review. If you do it and it is tested, and somebody else comes around and have it done, and somebody else comes around and follow your instructions, follow your methodology, and get it done, then you can rely on it.
But you don't know, some of these peer review, some of these review could be biased, right?
Well,
out of their own consideration, because you know something, you know to the Italian all.
But we have it. But we have it around here.
Yeah.
How much people skip school to go smoke marijuana?
A few, no, at this point.
And you know why they skip
Mm.
school? Because after they done smoke, they don't want to go back in the classroom smell stink of marijuana. That is one of the key things.
Key thing.
And you have persons who smoking who basically follow the same trajectory and they say birds of a feather flock together. So peer pressure, peer influence, and that is what would happen. And we have to get around from that. Some of them don't even want to work. Because when you done smoke a spliff or use a pipe and everything, sometimes a piece of slowness would come on to you and you just want, I don't want to call it laziness. I prefer to use use euphemism, like a nice sounding word. But it's laziness.
You can't be lazy.
Laziness come upon you.
Hope
wait.
cannot make you
The
lazy.
majority of them become lazy. All they want to do when they don't go home and sleep, they don't even have control over falling asleep. Those who do not do that will find themselves, like you said, if you can't get work, you make work. You understand? And I agree with you. But the problem with that sometimes is that when you would have created your work and generate your revenue, you don't pay any social security.
You must pay for.
Right.
Well, you must pay social security and you're robbing us all.
So we got the broader debate. If you don't pay social security, what happened to your parents, your family, and them who worked before and now coming behind to reap the benefit from social security based on your contribution? When you don't contribute, the little children them coming behind would have to pay into the social security so that you could benefit. So why you don't want to put in something for other people to benefit?
I had my time of social security payment and I will link myself from laying social security to get anything from me. Why I say that, I have my experience. A reason why I wouldn't explain it to you this
That's
night.
all right.
And respect to social security for the people who have the moments within what they can help them in their time after they call it as a retirement and sometimes medical help and then other things within benefits. And as they got even those of the widow benefits within.
Right.
And so, one thing I would like to say about Nital, the structure of our society really have a lot of work to do, not just one within the farm like we're discussing here tonight as a hub of the industry, but a lot of work to do in the way of the uses of the control mechanism, the mind control concept within even as you just outlined of some years that within the repair movements of people who drop out of school and them things now. I could say from my time of school age. I remember when we was in high school, there was I think it was the CSE. Not in that senior school before they could join the school and combine them to Washington Archibald School and talking about Bassett Junior School and Bassett Senior School. When they used to guide them in from first farm to CS.
Fourth farm.
Yeah, but they call it CS.
CS and 4S.
CS. They did CS and then after a while they break it down and then they combine it and say they change the format from I think it was NEC, the test standard. They used to call it farm and they went into a phase of the CXP status to change this format. Okay. Some of us in that age span of my time, I done school 1995. Some of us I remember you had an issue with two of my brethren them. They had a herb smoking in a class in the high school area of junior high school. And I was a part of the brethren them in that part, but my mind give me an open call and tell me come go home. I went home, but when I come back, my name was called in the incident. Well, I had my alibi, my grandmother, so they couldn't get me into that. But they used that avenue and they had the youth them went out of school. So the youth them was out of school prior to the issue. Before they knew had the youth them do any, how they call it, counseling. They had them doing the counseling so they could see what the moment where they had to relate in those kind of position and them kind of levels there. Why I say that to say, some of the things that we find in the social aspect of the school standard and the learning, they find, as you said, but Nital, when the youth use the herbs, some of them get lazy, some of them get fast, yes. But those who slow, you don't left them out and encourage them, because I could tell you, the one where we see happen to my players in the time, they could have generate something in that time to get to finish the school, and they did not. Now, one of them is not here with us now, but he's my brother by heart, because every time of his birthday, I go and visit him by the graveside to pay homage to him, because he's my brother. He born the same month of me, in November month, and I always chase him as my brother, even though it's not by blood brother, but brother by hearticulation. So is that I see those two brethren as an example where I find they have get out of school. That really true, but they had to get discount out of school, and they didn't have the family them to go up and even fight for them to even get back into school. And that was one of the things I see. Much parents didn't go and try to support wrongs on the children, even though you know your children in that intention of using ganja. Just try to encourage you to learn his or her lesson. Don't let them know that you're willing to give them the understanding that they ain't about smoking herb alone. It's about learning to get an education. And when you get the education, then you can apply what you need to do with the education. Because I didn't get none to go to the college, but I make sure I apply my reading to get my education, what I have today. And I proud of what I have done in my lifetime. So you ask the question earlier, what does herb do to me? It gave me concentration to be what I am today, in studying what I could do to help younger ones beyond my approach, because I'm not here for my approach alone. The approach is about the next generation, and we don't want to see them come into a society where it can be dangerous and unsafe for them to go forward to the next other generation picking up from them. So we like to see a safety concentration towards education to the young ones them, so they don't have no misguided by influence out there who trying to danger them by other things, and we of controlling them with the economical power. And we like to make sure those ones who trying to influence them start influencing them in a proper and not influence them to control them in using of gaining money off of them. It's time now.
The proposed ganja trade would require good financing. We came out of slavery, sugar plantations. Now, if we have billionaires or multimillionaires coming here to be in charge of our ganja industry, I could foresee our people being transformed from cane estates, cane plantations, to ganja plantations. But this form of slavery, plantation slavery, is a more advanced form. You understand? Why our people are only trying to enter the industry at the cultivation level? What happened to dispensing? What happened to agro-processing? Why our people always settle for the dregs at the bottom? Right? That is my concern. Don't you foresee a ganja plantation with the same persons or their generations ruling us again?
I will not say this. This is how I put it. Any investor who don't know the street of sinkers and knees when they was facing those troubling days and come down here and feel like they could captivate on the market and feel like they're going to come in here and control, as they said, the industry. It's very shaming to see we are the forerunner of the people who have suffered. We sit back and let that occur. I will be one who will be on the front line, because I'm not. I will be very general. When the farm administration was trying to outline how they're going to imply the industry working process, and then there was this man named Alki Davis who come here to say he come to give a new relevance of herb use in the aspect of medical use. He applied with the farmer for minister, Dr. Denzel Douglas at that time, because we all know that he was there. They invite me. I was at the press conference at that time. People said I should have never go. I didn't go on Rasaya behalf. I was invited and I make some calls, and the calls them give me the indication to take the invitation. So I went on the grounds from what was this one. Now, Virgin,
you ain't go pick the whip to
bang the people
to
them.
whip your backside.
If it's the new indication.
People, Helena, them used to send you for the bell. I go pick that piece of stick, I go wash you out.
So,
but the same invitation you got was technically picking the whip to
bang
whip
me.
your backside.
Well,
Yes.
it's a good thing. With me, because
Not yet, but it's on its way.
It's on its way, and when we look at him, the Virgin is not somebody who willing to understand her, because me ask him, what type of herb you're talking about? He said, well, it's a clone. So I said, clone? I want fresh, natural herb. So he said, no, it's clone herb he use. So that generally telling you now that I start all up. If any time you bring something that is going to danger our natural habitants of our, not just the ganja itself, it will danger the food cheese them around here to about it. You know that way.
Genetically modified organisms.
It will danger the food cheese
But
them
you're
around here.
eating the seedless stuff over to the supermarket.
Who eating food seedless stuff?
We?
Well, all we gotta do is change all those seedless and go back to seed.
Go back to
Because seed is the time. It's time to have seed, general fruits and vegetables, so you can able to know when you eat. You say, I can take that seed and put it aside like you get sun, joy, and then you go and put it in a thing to be as a way of nurturing to another plant, growth again. Now, I will say, you asked a question about what will I see the prediction of this in the future.
Cannabis plantation.
Making to that. I don't know within that moment will it happen, but if it happen, these people, that means we are the person who willing to go back to that cattle slavery. And we are not here for no cattle slavery, we are here to be our own developers. Our ancestors were developers, but they were controlled.
We do it with our finance.
Come on, Nital, we have, you think...
You're not a foreigner to come with empty briefcase and end up with millions, you know.
But Nital, you think we are on here just trying to see if we're willing, trying to have something. We know that we have it. It's time now we start work hand in hand. Stop look for individual approach. It won't work.
You got to work collectively.
Let us work collectively so we can able to safeguard the betterment for each on one another, not a few. Because if it's a few, I'm not in that process of looking down.
But let us suppose that the banks were friendly to our local potential investors.
Mm-hmm.
The Rastafari group, the this group, the that group, the church group, the football group, giving everybody a piece of the pie.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you don't do that, and you have not looked for external markets, I mean that everything that is grown here would have to be consumed locally. Could you imagine Kititians smoking off all the weed?
No man.
Wait. Could you imagine Kititian? Because if you don't have any external market, it is going to be utilized here.
But
wait. Could you imagine Kititian smoking off all that weed? We only have to look above and we'll see a cloud of cannabis smoke. And this time it ain't rainwater going to be in them, it's blood.
No,
because it's going to be taking the life of our people.
No, come on, brother Nital. It cannot be.
You don't anticipate a cannabis cloud
No, it can't be conforming.
enveloping over St. Kitts?
Well, it should be enveloping because the whole of St. Kitts and
But
Nevis
we ain't going to come from it. It's blood because people's life.
No, the life can be safe.
We're a
in the
small
context.
population of 45,000 who smoke off all the weed here.
No, you see, you're nationally trying to see if that could be, but it wouldn't
What
be.
I'm trying to get at is that don't you think that we should start looking at external market
We should.
to do some export?
No, and the most aspect of external knowledge, it shouldn't be on a big stage. It should be on the regional stage. Regional stage meaning that countries like Anguilla, Station, St. Bart, and them areas that don't have the capacity to grow the herb in their soil.
Neither St. Kitts,
St. Kitts have the capacity, but it can grow the herb in its natural stage because you have the soil. Now, we don't want to go, and I would like to phrase this here properly. This industry, our people is not going to captivate no $1 billion, so don't let nobody fool you all. It's time now we understand it can help us stable ourselves in a growth making of the economy to stable what we can penetrate within certain parts of countries that can help us get that kind of sale influx, as you just say, external market. Now, I can use this gesture. Guyana is one of a country that I find have a visionary aspect to an industry in the herb. May know how much people understand that Guyana now have tapping into hemp.
Guyana has 2 rainy seasons.
Yeah, they have the rainy season, but they have areas. They have areas that they can captivate, and as part of the outskirts with land that can create that industry and safety net within the industry. Now, they ain't going to do these things unless they do the research studies and the documentation, how they want to project their moments in that industry.
Who doing our research?
Well,
the committee?
No, I mean on the aspect of moving within that farmer, within the hemp industry.
Who doing our research?
Who doing?
Us move forward?
Well, right now is, as we know, the committee fully have set these meeting grounds, what I sure they should have done, have some meeting grounds.
Y'all have a timeline, y'all have a timetable.
Good question. It come to approach into getting a timeline. All it was suggested that the committee is formulated and we should have seen ourselves in meetings and doing what need to be done, and nothing start gradually like how it's supposed to. And I hope before the January close, some kind of initiative start moving forward.
So it's a ganja committee and not a ganja board.
Well, it's supposed to be a ganja licensing authority, not a ganja industry board authority, a licensing authority. So it's safeguarding the initiative of how the economical expenditures will be for those who are trying to captivate in the industry. That is what the licensing authority is supposed to outline, are these things here. So, like if Nital want to go into and create a aspect of oil, and he know what can captivate within the moment from the oil, he will go and say, well, I would like to file in for a licensing of using to make ganja oil. You can apply that. You can say you can be looking for a licensing to be creating soap from the ganja. That's another production good. You see, so there are ways and means that we can
agro-processing.
Look at in the context of how we create avenues of creating industrial process within, not just by, as we're looking at selling it on a raw scale, but selling it from biodegradable product. And even we can look at the way we're saying we want to get rid of the styrofoam them and so on, the plastic. Well, hemp can be a biodegradable initiative that can create ways and means, and we will be able to say we throw the hemp, it break down, because it ain't endanger the soil neither. But we throw the plastic, it take a period of time before it even could break down into one particle.
Different plastic would take different
time
too. Very long.
You see,
years, hundreds of
years. And that can endanger the environment at time to time still. So that's why I was saying, in grounds of the herb, we are here to say helping the soil grow and helping people study the way of the herb use, not by just smoking, because we want to look at the advocate of just letting it look like a smoking. You say, let the herb be free from the whole entirety, holistically. Once it's free, everyone will have a... When I say free,
free up the
ganja.
Yeah, wait, free up the ganja. Do you mean decriminalize it?
No, free it up, no have no label on it, no label at all.
You see, and that is not to work.
But
we have to be realistic.
But then they tell I being frank, because Nobody's supposed to put no label towards a thing that the creator create for human being to use. And if that is wrong, they'll tell the creator he wrong to make ganja.
But you got a lot of things that the creator made and we don't consume.
Or we don't consume.
And we can't consume.
You sure? I remember I could coffee. Where coffee come from?
Do you eat meat?
No, I don't eat flesh.
The creator created that.
No.
The creator created that.
He created what? The flesh?
The animal, the birds and the fish and the everything.
Yeah, you see,
you don't consume.
No, because he said thou shalt not eat of the bloody feast, you know. You know, he says that, right? The bloody feast, you know. The pork. But we respect people. If you want to eat your pork, don't take it because
fish
that's how I
ain't got any blood in it.
Me no eat no fish neither, you know. So me a man.
So you don't eat any animal.
Me don't eat animal consumption.
But you got a safari who would
respect people.
Nital,
we are not here to agitate what one eat or how they eat. All we agitating is that we, from my spiritual moments as a Rasta and knowing who I am, I'm a member of the Nyabingi Tiakosiado. And we are saying it's there to black and white don't press on. But we are here to educate our people. And everyone in the order of the Nyabingi live the way of others. We respect that. So we are not here to chastise and say, oh, you're eating that. No, we are here to work with one another. You could eat your way you want, you could eat your thing, but let we work to see how we could safeguard the betterment of our youths. That is what I hear specifying for all from the get-go, because I'm not here to say, let me safeguard myself alone, safeguard the youths them.
As a youngster, very young age, I managed an estate in the Cairn area. We used to do something called crop rotation.
Yes, it was there, man.
You have the Spooners Hermitage.
Hermitage, yeah.
You know, it was Hermitage, Spooners, and Brighton. You have certain crops that would take nutrients from the soil, and you have others that would put back in. So after you would have taken out sugar cane, and the yield would have decreased per acre, then you try to put in some potato and peanuts and those things, legumes, because they put back nutrients in the soil. Do you know whether or not marijuana is a nutrient extractor from the soil, or it replenishes the nutrients inside of the soil? And what can it be used in rotation with to maintain the nutritious or the nutrients inside of the soil?
Now, I would like to say, from my experience of seeing how the herb have been able to reach out to many of the soil development, yet able I'm talking from the people who I see in the growing of it and how we have able to safeguard the soil, what they're going. So herb help penetrate soil nutrients.
Replace, yes.
It help it a lot. One of the things I would like to even look at, you see the same ash from the herb, that can be a vital factor to help stimulate growth of soil prominent. But a lot of we don't really go into the deepest aspect of how we see certain things on the herb. So that's why we see some of us are being limited in certain things. We ain't here to say we're willing to see things go forward. We are here to make sure when we're going forward with it properly. I outline all of that I'm studying herb over my period of time of living within the Rastafari tenants, and I'm still learning more, because some of the herbs that we know of, some of them might not be located in St. Kitts and Nevis. It can be located in other countries or in the African region. But one of the things that we look at is that the studies of the movements show what herb can bring to the soil. It creates a healthy and clear stable of the soil development. And that's why people who try to add in things as miracle go and them things there, that it's time now we Lego them things there.
Agro-engineering.
Yeah, Lego them things
Agro-engineering. Don't you think we could get some plant engineering skills so that we could develop a particular grade that we can call the Kittitian grade? Do you think we could ever reach that level? We have people here
who capable,
competent and capable of
you're
doing
capable of doing that. I could see that there as a genuine fund for the herb industry, and we have people here who have able to outline the top grades. Now we ain't gonna call a name and
You
no
don't have
one
to
to
call any
we,
name.
We know what we want to see on our table. Now the greater the grade, the meditation go mystical within that vibrant of the THC and the CBB, because the two of them is two general component that
Could
can
be overwhelming
to
for you
help.
too. Could be too much for you to handle.
For your mental, because your brains in that functional like how we are functional when it comes to the use of herb. I could be a testimony and others can be, because man use the same person I talked to the other day pertaining about the charge he had get when he get arrested, and he's 73 years in the eye go make 73 years and I still use ganja. You have others older than the eye who may just make emphasis about, and they're using ganja and they never have, but it's because of the influx of how society approach to our people when it comes to the use of ganja. Them thinking that if we go out and have ganja use, everybody can come out and smoke ganja now.
You think that there's a proper way to use ganja and an improper way?
There is ways and mean how you use ganja, not a proper and an improper way.
But that's what I'm saying.
It's ways and
You
mean.
got a lot of youngsters using it, they're smoking it, and you could hear them cough miles away.
Because some of them ain't eating properly neither.
Right, so I ask you if you think there's a proper way to use the cannabis and an improper with respect to smoking.
It's learning. I would say the aspect is about learning as you go in using it. Because
trial and error.
It's a trial and error, because what might be for me, not might be for you, whoever else might fall in that phase.
So how come I want to put ganja inside of the edibles when you don't know much about the person who's going to be consuming it?
That's something that can be now informed to who are a part of the studies within the edibles. That's how we say studies and research.
And I got to stop selling them around the schools.
I would say for those who doing that is not general for the young ones them, because the young ones them they're not capable in the aspect of what the edibles can be in the reach when they do go into the body. And I'm calling on all ones them, come on, let us start using mindset in creating development and not breaking down all people development. And the edibles is not here to draw anybody into no crazy stage. It's just, as I stated earlier, the edibles is basically most for the use of people who have suffered chronic ailment, pain and cancer pain and those other ailments that are effective to our bodies that have created a lot of troubles over the years for other people of those who go through doctor for arthritis and gout and them other things. So we're saying in moments of the edibles, let us see that these people who have suffered these kind of pain is the one who using these things here, because that will help them break down the pain that they're facing, even fight off cancer, which can be reduced and be a better stand within the healthy living. And when we say healthy living, it meaning that the natural way of eating vegetables and fruits, because it's time now we return back to what we know as a part of our daily living. You can consume your little thing between, but we, from the Rastafari tenants, always practice Nital living, and the Nital living is the way that we bring forth a part of us within the use of herb, and herb is basically the concept of Rastafari from my intention of knowing who I am as a Rasta, and those who set the change before I and I, all the elders who have been there in the forefront and who are still there, and those who are past. You see? Yes. So we're thankful for this time, as we have gone so long within this discussion. Is able to be, I hope that the people who are listening are able to get some clear view of how we can go forward in this industry, and there will be more information shared, because not because I'm here on this program tonight, meaning that we can go further and have a betterment in consulting one another and making sure we know where we're going forward in the industry.
Okay, thank you for coming, and I think that your input was instructive, informative, and might well be transformative. You might get some of your brethren them who target the youngsters them. I like the fact that you appeal to them.
Right, Majesty.
That it is not the healthiest of things to engage the school children in the consumption of things against their wishes. And I must applaud you for that. And I wish you well as you put your stewardship into the ganja licensing committee or effort. I know that you were there with the original marijuana committee and helped in formulating some good viewpoints so that we could have followed that trajectory and maybe even formulate things thereafter. And I want to congratulate you in your efforts thus far.
Thanks a lot.
And I am hoping that when things get off kicking, moving forward with upward mobility, that I can see you within the clouds of those who have benefited most from the overall effort, because you are deserving. And I would like to say thank you to those who listened, and I hope that we would have brought you something of substance. We have gone a little bit over time, and my apologies to the young lady who is here to accommodate us.
Well, Sister Lam.
My apologies, and we hope that it was worth the extra 4 minutes.
Thank you.
And I would like to say a special thank you to everybody, and continue to have yourself a pleasant evening. And don't forget the wider trajectory in terms of making 2023 work best for you. It should be an improvement over 2022. Thank you. Good night.
The opinions and statements made by the host and participants